Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis town hall. Today is September 12th and we are going to cover the following topics from the Hindu newspaper. First one, the Great Nicobar's project. This article has been written by the Environment Minister. So here we will see how the ecological and the tribal rights have been taken into consideration before going forward with the Nicobar's project. Second, role of vultures in prevention of the pandemics. How vultures can prevent the future pandemics. Third, recognition of the Palestine by various European nations. Why they are doing it and what is going to be the impact of this. Then the GST Healthcare Reforms. Here, what reforms have been done in the GST with regards to the healthcare sector. We will have a look at. Then the central government is going to release the 2 key surveys on household finances. First, it will conduct the surveys and then the surveys will be released. Let's start. Yes, the Great Nicobar Island project, which have been in news very much. Various articles have been come up regarding the negatives of the project. Here we will have majorly look at what are the positive side of the project. This is an ambitious project with international container transshipment terminal. First element, 4 elements are there basically. This will be developed. Second, Greenfield International Airport will be developed. 450 MVA gas and solar based power plant. And fourth, township. This project holds strategic, defense and national importance. Also the economic importance. What are the various importance? See, first of all, it will strengthen India's maritime and air connectivity in the Indian Ocean region. Second, strategic and defense needs. Obviously, in Indian Ocean, there are various choke points and India needs to place its military also there. So, various choke points in the Indian Ocean regions, it will have a control over them. Also, to need to check the China's string of pearls strategy. That is the maritime expansion of China, where China is expanding in the Indian Ocean. Also, it has various economic benefits like maritime trade hub. Maritime trade will improve. Logistics will improve, jobs will be created, there will be urban development and trade competitiveness of India will also increase. So in the article, basically 2 focus things. First of all, how environmental safeguards have been ensured and the tribal safeguards. This project will be completed in 3 phases. First phase, 72 square kilometer, 2025 and 35. That is 10 years phase mein it will be developed. Then phase 2, it will last till 41. Then phase 3, 2047. By 2047, the entire project will be completed. All the statutory scrutiny under EIA notification have been done before this project was moved ahead. Let's look at the first environmental safeguards. EIA and EMP, Environment Impact Assessment and Environment Management Plans. Detailed EIA and EMP plans were prepared before the approval of the project. Risk assessment studies were done from both the perspectives, anthropogenic as well as the natural disasters. Second, compensatory afforestation. There are fears of that the trees will be felled and also the deforestation will happen. Since Andaman and Nicobar have more than 75% of the forest cover and under the Campa rule, no need to develop the afforestation activity to be taken there. So they will be taken in other states. Haryana has been identified as the first state where the afforestation will be activities will be taken. Then tree felling. Out of the 18 lakh estimated trees in the project area, maximum which will be felled is 7 lakh. Okay, so 66 square kilometer will remain green without the tree loss. So ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरे area के trees will be felled. Only the 7 lakh trees are expected to be felled and उसके लिए compensatory afforestation will be taken place. Also, for the safe passage of the animals, 8 safe passages will be made, the wildlife corridors, so that they can move between the forest and seashore. Also, the various studies have been done by reputed institutions like Geological Survey of India, Botanical Survey of India, okay, and also Salim Ali Center for Ornithology and Wildlife Institute of India. So, environmental safeguards have been taken into consideration. Now, for tribal safeguards, first of all, Nicobaris and Shompen tribes, these are the major tribes there. Do take a note of these tribes' name. their protection will be ensured. No displacement will happen of the tribes. Tribes will not be displaced. Also, a committee will be formed which will oversee the welfare and issues related to the Champagne and Nicobarese tribes. No displacement. Only 84 square kilometer of tribal reserve affected, out of which 11 square kilometer is already in use basically. So 73 किलोमीटर का एरिया है जो वो ट्राइबल रिजर्व से बाहर आएगा. ये 73 किलोमीटर तो बाहर आ गया ट्राइबल रिजर्व से. सो उसको कंपनसेट करने के लिए 77 किलोमीटर स्क्वायर किलोमीटर एरिया को रीनोटिफाई किया जाएगा. द एरिया विच इज नॉट नोटिफाइड इट विल बी रीनोटिफाइड. सो देयर विल बी नो लॉस ऑफ द ट्राइबल रिजर्व्स, but there's a gain of almost 4 square kilometer area for the tribal reserves. Okay, there'll be an oversight committee which will involve members from the Andaman Adim Janjati Vikas Samiti. Basically इस समिति को ट्रस्टी की तरह माना जाता है of particularly vulnerable tribal groups in Andaman and Nicobar. ठीक है. And also the Ministry of Tribal Affairs and Anthropological Survey, there will be members will be there in the oversight committee. Now there are two policies, जारवा and शोम्पेन पॉलिसी. जारवा ट्राइब के लिए तो ये जो समिति है इसको ट्रस्टी बनाया गया था. और शोम्पेन पॉलिसी क्या कहती है? It allows large scale development proposals in Great Nicobar, but subject to the consultation with the Ministry, Tribal Welfare and Andaman Adim Janjati Vikas Samiti. Basically, all this has been done, so it allows the large scale development projects, which has been done. Okay, so all the safeguards have been taken into consideration. Economy and ecology complementing each other. So these remarks can be used in the conclusion of the answer. It combines the objective of economic growth, we have seen infrastructure development, we have seen employment generation and critical national security imperatives, therefore contributing to India's long-term strategic and developmental interest. So this is basically the positive side. There are definitely the concerns which have been covered by various articles, but here the today's theme is the positive side of the Nicobarese project. Second, yes, very important, can vultures help prevent pandemic? सोच के देखो, when we think about pandemic like COVID, what comes to our mind? Vaccination, laboratories, health worker, protective gear, wearing the sheets. But what is the role of vultures in safeguarding and also preventing the pandemic? Let us analyze. India में vulture का status basically it has fallen. In 1980s, there were more than 40 million plus vultures, which has now reduced by 95%. मतलब 95% vultures have died or have gone. Now only the 5% of these remains. Why? One of the major reason has been the diclofenac, the use of diclofenac. Basically inflammation में use होता है. ये कैटल्स वगैरह को दिया जाता है. जब vultures को भी ये दिया गया तो it was found that they have severe effect on the kidneys, because of which the vulture population has reduced by more than 95%. There are other reasons also which we will see. Basically what happens is the vultures are part of India's Central Asian flyway. Central Asian flyway क्या होता है? जब Central Asia है जो वहाँ पे बहुत ठंड होती है तो vultures basically they migrate and they pass through India. That route is called as Central Asian flyway. It is a migratory corridor. It links 30 plus countries. Basically makes vulture protection. Vulture protection को basically central level, national level पे नहीं कर सकते. It has to be done on the regional level. Various other countries also have to come to the coordination. How vultures are linked to pandemic? सोच के देखो. Pandemic कैसे होता है? कोरोना वायरस है. Basically they are coming from the animals. Zoonotic diseases, right? What happens is when the vultures are not there, basically they feed on the carcasses. That is the dead bodies or dead animals. They feed on them. When the carcass is in the open, vultures feed on them. Okay. But if vultures are not there, because of the carcass, it will attract the dogs, rats and cows nearby areas. Then therefore there are risk of spread of rabies and zoonotic spillover, which can through these animals, it can spill over to human. If vultures are there, they will finish it. But if vultures are not there, then they will attract the dogs, rats and cows. So basically poorly managed carcass is a hotspot for the disease emergence. So vultures act as a natural disease surveillance agent. You can use these terms when in mains you write, use natural disease surveillance agent. First to detect carcass, reducing human exposure. Therefore linking directly them to the biodiversity loss. Okay. But why the population is falling? One is the diclofenac. Other reasons are the conservation efforts of vultures are underfunded and also fragmented in the global arena. As we have discussed, it cannot, the steps to increase the population cannot be taken by just one country. It has to be regionally. It has to be done regionally. So the conservation programs are fragmented. Also, infrastructure risk like electrocution from power lines. Because vultures क्या होते हैं, हैवी बॉडी होती है इनकी, हैवी बॉडी, बिग मास, तो पावर लाइंस में फंस के दे डाई. Okay, and also poisoning from the toxic veterinary drugs like the diclofenac. Because of these, the vulture population has gone down. What is the proposed strategy to prevent the decline of vultures and to prevent the death of vultures? India already has a national action plan for vulture conservation, which is now completion. 2016 it was launched. So now we need a post 2025 national strategy. So what should be there? First one, satellite telemetry. First of all, हमारे पास पूरा ट्रैक होना चाहिए, सब पूरा डेटा होना चाहिए of the habitat, कहाँ ये रहते हैं. Then the carcass dumps, where they are, and also what is the migratory pattern, in what season they come, in what season they go, and how we can prevent their death. डिसीजन सपोर्ट सिस्टम, रियल टाइम इंटीग्रेशन होना चाहिए किसका, वाइल्ड लाइफ, लाइफ स्टॉक एंड ह्यूमन हेल्थ डेटा का. व्हाई? बिकॉज द माइग्रेटरी पैटर्न्स, दिस वाइल्ड लाइफ एंड लाइफ स्टॉक, इट इज रिलेटेड टू ह्यूमन हेल्थ नाउ. वन हेल्थ, this is what One Health is all about. Cross-sector coordination between the environment, veterinary and health agencies. Regional cooperation is very important. Central Asian flyway for migratory species and community stewardship, like engaging local communities because they are more aware of these things, right? In India, there are 9 types of vultures. I think overall there are 23 in the world. In India, there are 9. The IUCN status of all these varies. Like the 2 mentioned here, Himalayan griffon and cinereous vulture, they are near threatened, but the 4 are critically endangered. The likelihood of coming in exam is this one: white-rumped, slender-billed, long-billed, and red-headed. So these 4 are critically endangered. Under CITES, Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species, is Appendix 2 and India Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. This is the protection status of these vultures. Okay, next article is, yes, interesting article. Now we see various European nations are coming and recognizing Palestine as a separate nation. Basically, the two nation theory, more and more nations of the European Union are coming ahead. Recently, Spain, Ireland, and Norway have formally recognized the state of Palestine. Then last month, we covered in the newspaper also the France president, Emmanuel Macron. He also clarified that he also wants to recognize Palestine as a separate nation. So why is it happening? What is the thing which is going on in the geopolitical arena, which is pressurizing directly or indirectly these countries to recognize Palestine? Why? Let's see. First one is Gaza war. Basically, after the October 7 attack of Israel on the Gaza, it was massive attack leading to civilian deaths and humanitarian catastrophe. So it's a kind of a moral pressure on the European Union countries. Okay. The public opinion also was shocked. It was reshaped by seeing this humanitarian catastrophe. So basically the status quo seen as morally untenable. Status quo जो चल रहा है वो नहीं चल सकता. It has to be two nation theory. Second reason was Israel position. Israel's prime minister, he openly rejected the two nation solution. No, two state solution नहीं है. Therefore अब तक जो डिप्लोमेसी पिछले 20-30 साल से चल रहा है कि टू नेशन सॉल्यूशन लेके आना है, वो तो खत्म हो गया. So again, it strengthened the European Union countries to move towards recognition of Palestine. Third, legal pressure. What happens is, in International Court of Justice, what South Africa did, South Africa basically accused Israel of violating the Genocide Convention. The Genocide Convention was accused to be violated by the Israel. So it also creates an international, basically scrutiny, international global scrutiny regarding the actions of the Israel. Okay, so recognition is seen as the last tool to preserve the two-state framework. अब two-state framework को कैसे वो करेंगे accept? First of all, you have to recognize Palestine as a separate nation. Fourth reason, impact of Ukraine war. How it is linked? अब देखो, Europe is strongly defending the sovereignty of the Ukraine and saying that through the actions, through the violent actions, sovereignty of a country cannot be taken away. Then the same applies to Palestine also. The inaction of the European countries over the killings in Gaza, in Palestine, they are in stark contrast with what the Europe is contesting for Ukraine. Okay, so it shows double standard on Palestine. This is a consistency gap. So therefore, it is forcing the governments to act for credibility. अब credibility गायब हो जाएगी ना. At one place, you are taking no action, like in Gaza, in Palestine. In second Ukraine, you are trying to defend it. So this consistency gap or the double standard will not work. Then there's a domestic pressure also, the political pressure. According to a survey by Eurobarometer, 72% of the Europeans, they support applying international law consistently. That is, if you are defending the Ukraine, then you should defend the Palestine also. Okay, there have been various massive student demonstration, human rights campaigns. Okay, so various domestic and political pressure is also there in the Europe. That is why the European nations are now moving towards recognition of Palestine. But recognition of Palestine will not end the war. It is only a symbolic shift. Okay. Now, why it is a symbolic shift? Why? Because it's just the representation of the values you are trying to preserve. Ultimately, you are not supporting Palestine. Okay. Europe wants to project its values and power globally. While recognition itself does not end the occupational conflict. इससे conflict end नहीं होगा, but still it signals what? That the European countries are no longer comfortable being passive spectator to the dismantling of the two-state solution. That is why more and more European countries are now coming ahead, recognizing the Palestine as a separate country. Yes, GST Healthcare Reforms. GST में जो healthcare reforms हुए उनका health check कर लेते हैं. Let's start. Various health initiatives or various health reforms which are announced in the GST reforms, we will discuss those. Basically, the GST reforms, it marks a turning point in journey towards achieving universal health coverage by making the medical care more affordable and accessible. How? First of all, insurance premium, zero. For example, agar every year I'm paying 50,000 in insurance premium, plus I have to pay extra 9,000 in GST. Now this is zero. So basically, the cost is reduced. Also, the old types of insurances. It will help in increasing the insurance coverage in India, currently, which is about 3.7% of GDP, and the world average is 6.8. Okay, so we are far behind the global average. Also, the various, the medical facilities like medical rooms costing less than 5,000, they are exempt, but above 5,000, it will be 5% GST. Neonatal intensive care unit they are fully exempt. Okay, लाइफ सेविंग ड्रग्स पे मोस्टली पे जीरो कर दिया है जीएसटी. मेडिकल डिवाइसेस पे मोस्टली 5% शिफ्ट कर दिया, 12% से 5% पे आ गए हैं. लेबोरेटरीज में जीएसटी एग्जेम्प्ट है, बट जो किट्स हैं, इक्विपमेंट्स हैं, उन पे जो 5% है जीएसटी वो लगता है. ऑल्सो देयर इज अ फोकस ऑन प्रिवेंटिव हेल्थ. दिस इज द मेन थिंग. GST on gyms, yoga studios, salons have been reduced from 18 to 5%. Therefore, preventive health care is promoted. At the same time, on cigarettes and the sugary drinks, whether aerated, sweetened, have been increased to 40%. On the cigarettes, the tax will jump to almost 52 to 88%, including the cess, to discourage consumption and generating the revenue for the government. Because generation, देखो, अब जो बाकी जितने रिफॉर्म हैं, माइनस टैक्स कम किया है, तो टैक्स लॉस फॉर द गवर्नमेंट. To compensate this, tax have been increased on these sin goods. Okay. Therefore, the framework that supports the entire healthcare chain have been supported in these GST reform. This is what it was about. इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं था इसमें. Yes, central government is going to conduct 2 key surveys on the household finances. Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation will do it. MOSPI. What is the name of the surveys? First of all, is the household. This is the survey. All India Debt and Investment Survey. Second, Situational Assessment Survey for Agriculture Household. अब इसमें क्या होगा? एग्रीकल्चर हाउसहोल्ड का जो सर्वे था बेसिकली 2003 में इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था. एग्रीकल्चर हाउसहोल्ड सर्वे में व्हाट वी विल हैव अ लुक एट द इनकम, एक्सपेंडिचर, इंडेटेडनेस, क्रेडिट, लैंड, लाइवस्टॉक ओनरशिप, क्रॉप, all these things will be measured. So when we will have a detailed data on various aspects, कि कितनी फार्मर्स की इनकम है, कितना उनके ऊपर डेट है, राइट. So after all this data, policy formulation will be easier. So these two surveys are very important, and if question comes in prelims, it can come like name of the survey will be given, who releases it, right? So it is released by the MOSPI will conduct the surveys. So this is about today's articles. I am attaching the notes in the comment box as well as the description box. If you have any query, you can ask in the comment box. So now we'll see you on tomorrow. Till then, good luck, goodbye. Thank you.